And welcome, everybody. Welcome to this time with On the Third Day. And we're taking up what is presence. I took a couple of definitions from our some dictionaries, and this is what I came up with. Presence, presence of God, the awareness of spirit within one's own being. It manifests as increased life, peace, love, and a deep sense of spiritual joy. Another definition says, is the ability to see yourself clearly and objectively through reflection and introspection. The ability to self-evaluate by knowing and understanding your thinking, your feeling, and your behavior. Conscious presence is a silent observing of thought or emotion, according to Adam Oakley in his article on inner peace. It is about a felt sense. It is about doing some interior work and about being authentic and vulnerable to oneself. Some might call it a capacity to self confront. For us, in On the Third Day, it is a form of prayer because we invite the Spirit of God who dwells in us in our practice. Conscious presence allows you to separate yourself from the thoughts and behaviors that you have. You are able to see it from a distance. Here's a picture that's where there's a mother who is actually talking to her child and says, breathe out. It's trying to equip her child about how it is to deal with the complications of life and how it is to acknowledge that life is complicated. So let's look at how presence is important in such a picture. Presence is understanding what is going on in our body, our thoughts, and our behavior. Presence is loving ourselves as God loves us. He created us, and to be present to this gift of creation is a form of response to the gift and the giver. It's like thanking the giver of the gift for the gift. It is God's will for us to get to know ourselves. We are complicated beings, and it can take a lifetime to understand this person, self, who has a soul, a mind, a body, and a spirit. We are all uniquely made, and we experience things differently. And we all have varied experiences, which make us unique and separate us from the other. Let us embrace that uniqueness, and let us embrace how we can be separate from each other. As we begin to realize things about ourselves and continue to practice this all the time, we slowly become more self aware. We begin to honor the gift of self and begin to pinpoint our feelings. I can start to know that I am sad because, for example, my children are all busy and life holds people away from having time to relate. Or I can begin to understand that I am faced with the barrage of documentation and I feel lost in finding a way to find the job that would be my ideal job. I am confused. Who can I ask help from? I am embarrassed to seek help and bother people. I am overwhelmed by this task. These are examples of what we're feeling. And you may be experiencing this at a certain time in your life. Hence, we begin to understand that there are times when we have avoided or denied our feelings, especially if it confirms our pain, our fear. And there are times that we can become overcome by our feelings and can explode or act in or act out. Acting in is a form of implosion where you keep things to yourself. It might be something in the unconscious where you're not aware that you are upset about something because your head or your mind is telling you to be nice about it. You were brought up to let things go and not to give it the space to be felt, or to be grieved, or to be sad, or to be angry about the situation. Your body does not let things go so easily, like your mind. Your body will tell you when it has had too much. Acting in is part of embodiment. The upset parts of your emotions cause you dis-ease. If you do not have an outlet for it to be expressed, you will become sick. You will become stiff. You will feel it in your stomach or in your head. That's what embodiment means. So it is important for you to notice what is going on your body, because it is telling you that you have not been minding many things that you should mind. What is acting out? Acting out, on the other hand, is more like an outlet. It can come out as an explosion of emotions that have been denied, that have been avoided, or that have been buried. Eventually, it finds its way out when there is a trigger that ignites its capacity to erupt. Bang! Once we are aware of what is happening to our body, our emotions, and our behavior, it is possible that we realize that these outbursts are not good for us, and neither is it good for others. These outbursts can affect our relationships. With presence, we can name the emotions, name the behavior, and take steps in order to resolve the condition. We begin to learn to practice restraint by understanding our own dynamics. We can begin to understand our triggers. We can avoid people and situations that will make us explode. We can decide to make a U-turn when we see something coming. We can stay away from toxic situations, especially when we know we are tired. Listening to our body makes us aware of our capacities on how to deal with potentially explosive situations. I can be conscious and watch my tone, my body language, and my words. Practicing creativity is essential. It helps us choose our words. It helps us choose the timing. It helps us choose our strategy. Creativity, or accessing creativity, is a form of prayer. Jesus is our guide. He sweat blood in Gethsemane. He controlled his emotions in front of Pilate. Let's just pause there for a while. Let's just be aware and present to ourselves. According to this slide, we are responsible for our emotions. We are meant to be a person for others. Okay. The nature of our emotional interaction predicts what happens to our relationship. That's why we have to do our work individually. It takes being present to self and to others all at the same time. If we do not practice presence to ourselves, we will not have the bandwidth to be present to others. Presence to oneself is a lifetime endeavor. Let's pause for a while in silence And let's give ourselves time to be present to ourselves. What is currently going on in our bodies, our emotions, and in our thoughts? Pause again here. We will have time to share what came up while we were in silence. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your sharing. When we pause, we can feel our feelings, we can hear our thinking, and we can understand what's going on. And then we can be authentic. Perhaps this is one of the things that you might be feeling. You may be able to say, actually, I am not okay. Something like this might have happened with you. Someone's words made me wonder whether that person is hitting at me or is just talking generalities, mainly about an experience they had. The right thing to do is to approach the person and to ask that person whether there was something in that statement which he or she was directing at you. Is there truth in what they were insinuating? I asked myself. Do I need to work on that stuff? I sit with it. How do I approach that person without offending or accusing that person who talked about the situation that seemed to be me they were talking about? It's also important to ask yourself, is that person able to receive feedback about how that statement he or she made affected you? When sharing our feelings with the other, it is important to understand the personality of the other person, what they are going through, their own capacity, and brokenness or wholeness. That's what we're saying, that we have to be a person for others. We have to consider what the other is going through. Creativity in communication would consider that the recipient and their ability to receive. Dealing with the general community members toughens us because of the multiple personalities we have to accommodate, we have to love, and we have to understand. In doing so, we develop resilience. I need to feel and be present to the capacity of others who will have to deal or deal with the difficult relationships that are ongoing around them. Again, let's pause and ask God to show us experiences of difficult relationships we have been in, or the relationships that have been supportive and held us during difficult times. We will come back after a while and we will share what God has revealed to us in our silence. We maintain our desire to make relationships work. We need to consider the tone, the body language. The other day, I was facilitating two employees who were in conflict. The second employee came into the room in a stance of marching in ready for battle. That was her body language. She couldn't see herself, but I told her that if I had videoed her, she would see her aggressive stance and it would put the other person, whom they were about to talk to settle their differences, in a defensive mode if she had seen that way that she entered. As I was talking to this person, I recalled a scripture, Proverbs 15:1. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise makes knowledge acceptable, but the mouth of fools spouts folly. Presence to self is essential to understand what is the root to the inability to control our emotions. Do I have any wounds that need to be healed, that need attention? Can I be present to my past? Can I be present to my hurt? Can I be present to my anger, my grief, and or my losses? What is the root of our inability to express our emotions? Have I been taught uh, that there is no space for our emotions and that they are not important? Have I grown up in a home where expressing my feelings was looked at as overdramatic and I was told to move on? Or perhaps have I grown up where no matter how authentic or vulnerable I was, there was nobody who would even notice what I was going through, or nor give me the time of day for being held by the members of my family. Generally, people have more important things to attend to rather than my emotions. It is sad that families and communities don't give space to how people are feeling. And yet, the true essence of presence and ability to carry each other's burdens is to hold someone well in their time of difficulty. It is true that the direction we take in life is ours alone. It will dictate the outcome of our lives. Broken or successful relationship is part of our responsibility. We make choices regarding them. The solution lies within you, but the few and becoming rarer people who adhere to Christian life and believe in the characteristic and ability to be there for others when life is difficult is becoming less and less. We are so busy that we don't have the ability to be love for others. We have in this teaching covered areas of how we can practice the presence of God in our everyday life, how we can practice presence to self, and how we can practice presence to others as we go and do our lives. I hope this has been useful for you and will help you deal with or practice presence and understand yourself, understand God, and understand others. One last practice I would like to spend time with you before we say goodbye to each other. This is called a Visio Divina, praying with a picture. And I will spend some time helping you do this. After this, after this prayer and time with this picture, you may want to talk to somebody or book an appointment with one of us so that you may be able to share what God said to you through this picture. Someone will be coming in with what we can provide for you after this prayer time. God bless you all. So here we are. Stay with this picture and practice presence. Feel yourself. What does it evoke from you? Look at the rocks. What impression does it give you? What time of day do you think it is? Is there any significance to his being barefoot? How do you find this posture? He's got his hands supporting his seemingly heavy shoulders. Does the place give you a sense of its desolation? There doesn't seem to be any vegetation around, nor is there any sign of life around. Where is God in this man's life? What might he be going through? Is it reminding you of something you have recently gone through? Stay with the picture for another 2 to 3 minutes and be present to it and yourself. Thank you for your time.